Kansas City Sports Update Studios. Welcome to Kingdom Radio, where we talk about all things Kansas City Chiefs. Brought to you by Arrowhead Update. Join Chris and Richard on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Player FM, CastBox, and all third-party applications. Check us out on Facebook platforms such as Kansas City Sports Update and Arrowhead Update. And if you cannot find us there, Google or search Kingdom Radio and Kansas City Chiefs, and you will find us. Welcome to the Kingdom.
Welcome to KC Kingdom Radio. I'm your host, Richard Smith, and with me, as always, my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Kris-Chavez, is joining us this evening, and we're here to talk the Patrick-Mahomes contract. But before we kick off there, Chris, how are you doing? Look, it's been a while, you know. There's been a huge break here with the coronavirus, and it just seems to be, it just keeps getting stretched out, and there's really not a lot of Chiefs news to talk about. But, Chris, how are you doing?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. I'm hanging in there. I'm currently in the process of moving, and so I've kind of been focusing on that with all this downtime, which has been nice. It's been really helpful. And it's kind of kept my mind off of other things. But like you and like pretty much everybody else who's out there listening, I'm ready for some football to come back. I'm ready to start talking some Chiefs and get this season started.
Yes, I'll tell you what, it seems like it has been, you know, this huge roadblock, you know, that we have been in to start this 2020-21 NFL season, and the news is lacking. It seems to be, as you know, with everybody practicing the social distancing and you know, all the regulations that are dropped down from above, you know, there's not much of a choice but to, you know, sit on our hands and really wait for what comes ahead with the NFL season. But I will say this one thing, and this is what we're focusing on tonight. The talks for Patrick Mahomes and his contract is coming up. And I will say this is going to be a monumental contract. And you know, there's been talks within the organization at NFL and analysts across the league, and Chris, you and I have even spoke about this, is the fact that this might very well be the first contract in the NFL or NFL history to do a percentage-based contract, you know, outside of a cap-spaced contract. Now, I know those things both fall hand in hand, but when you give a player a percentage of the entire salary cap, that is different than signing a player, you know, to a big, large extension or contract, solely because, in a way, it's a team-friendly deal, and there's so many avenues that they can take within that deal that a lot of fans don't even realize. And I think we can kind of touch base on those things this evening. But Chris, kind of give me your scoop a little bit here, because I broke down the scenarios and what could possibly happen. But what is your take on this? Because this is right around the corner, and I know that it could happen a year from now, you know, or at the end of the season, midway through the season, however they feel fit. But Chris, what's your take? Because this is a big deal for Chiefs Kingdom, and it's time to break this down.
I feel that regardless of how this goes down, this is going to be a monumental contract. Whether it be the size of the contract, whether it be the percentage of the cap space on the contract, whether it be the length of the contract.
Right.
And this is another way of looking at it, just because, I mean, it's a possibility. The team friendliness of the deal as well.
Right.
Because, again, we've heard analysts say the Chiefs are going to pay him the moon and then some.
Right.
But if the Chiefs do that, they're not going to be able to properly field a team and support him. I mean, the NFL history is littered with teams and quarterbacks that have gone down that road, and most of those scenarios end up being one and done. Patrick Mahomes, as anyone can tell in his interviews, does not want to be a one and done. He wants to have a plethora of rings, and that he knows that is going to be what is going to cement his legacy. And it's not just going to be a matter of, oh, he had the largest contract at one point until, Deshaun Watson or some other quarterback comes in and they signed their deal. Mahomes is going to be about, I feel that Mahomes is going to be about the team-friendly deal as opposed to the astronomical number. But on the flip side, looking at the percentage component, that could be a very interesting scenario in itself, because every single year, let's assume that he signs for a 20% of the salary cap. Every year, the Chiefs go into their off season knowing they have 80% of the salary cap to play with.
Right.
And so it makes things a little bit easier to navigate from a salary cap standpoint.
And any way the Chiefs go about this, I feel like that there's a certain level of intelligence and intellect. Same word, but there's a certain level of intellect that comes behind this type of contract, because it has been made very aware to the world, Chiefs Kingdom, to the media, that Patrick Mahomes does want to take a team-friendly deal. And now how all that will work out and how the Chiefs can maneuver that cap space, is going to be a work of science. And I'm excited to see all that play out. And now, on the flip side of things, I also see players, trying to take their avenue and kind of roll off of the Patrick Mahomes thing right now. And I'm going to, name drop Dak Prescott. And I don't think that he's worth what he's asking, but he's setting a market value for a quarterback that's, even above his talent level, and above, any other quarterback in the league. And if that deal gets done, that could change the scenario for, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So, I feel like that there's multiple avenues and multiple scenarios that go into this, outside of Chiefs Kingdom. And so I feel like with where things are right this second, Patrick Mahomes and his agent are riding the wave. They're letting things work out for themselves and realizing that at this point in time, especially with the coronavirus, I have to throw that out there. With the coronavirus, it makes sense to sit on your hands for a bit and let this market play out, because there's been talks of the salary cap dropping next season in multiple sports. And Patrick Mahomes doesn't want to fall victim to that and also leave money on the table with his rookie deal. So there's multiple factors that lie into this, and I think this is just going to be an extremely interesting scenario, because this could play out any way. There's no given, there's no set result, there's nothing. Patrick Mahomes sets the market, and I think in a way that makes it a little bit frightening for Chiefs Kingdom moving forward, investing all of this capital into one player. But in the same scenario, this is the guy. Patrick Mahomes is the Michael Jordan of football. There's nobody who does it any better than Patrick Mahomes, and it's not even close. It's not even close.
It's really not. I mean, you can look at the current reigning MVP and Lamar Jackson, and it's still not even close. Did what he do this past year, was it amazing and phenomenal? Yeah, it was. We've never seen a quarterback run for that many yards. But if you compare this year's MVP to last year's MVP, totally different seasons. And, I mean, if you were to compare the two based on the accolades, Patrick Mahomes is still being talked about, whereas Lamar Jackson, there's no chatter about him. He's not the face of the NFL right now. It's still Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, and realistically, let's put this scenario into real light. The Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he has his MVP season compared to Lamar Jackson's MVP season. Like you said, it isn't even close. You can't really compare the two. But I will say this. the Patrick Mahomes season, his MVP season was, and it's weird to say this because I don't want to take anything away from any MVP, but that was phenomenal. That's something that a lot of people have never seen in their entire lives. This isn't just, some fluke. This was a landslide victory, for MVP. And, the next year he comes out and wins the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. This is a scenario where, we're looking at Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley, if you will. I would say that Lamar Jackson falls victim to the era of football that he came into in the NFL solely because there was a talent that was far superior to him. And it's going to keep shining. Patrick Mahomes hasn't hit his peak. And we all know Lamar Jackson hasn't hit his peak either. But, like we said, the comparison, Jackson doesn't have the arm. And that's what it takes in the NFL to win Super Bowls and win football games. And you can have a phenomenal season, but let's see some consistency, because I will say this: we have seen that out of Patrick Mahomes. And so whatever money the Chiefs put on the table, whatever money that his agent is asking for, I cannot say you can't turn it down. What can you say? You cannot turn it down if you're Clark Hunt.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch back on that MVP season that we were talking about for Patrick, that season, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, it's probably one of the top 5 seasons ever statistically for a quarterback.
Absolutely.
And you look at what Lamar Jackson did, and it's not something that a quarterback looks to do. A quarterback looks to throw the ball and put the ball in the end zone. Lamar Jackson didn't really throw the ball that great, and he didn't put the ball in the end zone enough.
Right.
He certainly didn't put it in there 50 times.
Right.
And so he still has a ways to go, and he definitely has a long way to go before he tries to even supplant Patrick Mahomes as the face of the NFL.
Absolutely.
In this era right now.
Right.
And even then, he's got other guys that he has to compete with to even be on Patrick Mahomes' level.
Yes.
I'll even go so far as to say that Dak Prescott is more of a face, more recognizable, than Lamar Jackson is. Deshaun Watson is right up there.
And it's really one of those things where this is a quarterback league right now. The running back has fallen off dramatically. The stock in running back has fallen off dramatically. So that puts all the weight back on the quarterback. So the value of a quarterback right now in the NFL is astronomical. But then you look at all the talent around the league. It's a competitive league right now, at the quarterback standpoint. And there's really, outside of Patrick Mahomes, nobody's running away with it. I honestly think if another quarterback would have had, a career season and would have ran with Lamar Jackson this past season, and not necessarily, no pun intended, not ran with him, legs, running ability, but say somebody else put up 40 touchdowns and ran for 6 and put up, 4,200 yards, would we be even talking about Lamar Jackson right now?
Probably not.
Because, when it comes down to it, yes, he had the best rushing year out of any quarterback ever. But you pull that stat away, what is Lamar Jackson? So
He's an average quarterback.
Right, exactly. And so, there's other quarterbacks that are far superior to him, and, even Dak Prescott. I feel like there could be an argument there. But truth be told, Patrick Mahomes, it's not even close within the NFL. A far superior talent, doing things that nobody's ever seen before. And this man absolutely deserves to be paid $45 million a year. Now, how that's going to break down, within the salary cap, that's still to be told. But with the genius that we have with our GM and Brett-Veach, and him already making moves with restructuring contracts, like Frank Clark and Sammy Watkins, I feel like that's a prerequisite to signing this big contract with Mahomes and keeping all of these key pieces to the core of the Chiefs, which obviously it's been shown that the chemistry that the Chiefs have, especially last season, they hit the ground running, and I look for that to happen again this season. They'll hit the ground running. No pieces have really left on the offensive side of the ball, and the Chiefs are only getting stronger on the defensive side of the ball. So it's just it's the perfect storm. It really is, and it's time to pay the man who's behind the storm.
Yeah, it definitely is. We need to reward him for what he's done and what he's going to do. And I don't know if there are term limits on the contracts, but if there aren't, we need to figure out a way to make it a lifetime contract for Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
If he wants to play, whatever, if there's 20, 25%, 30% of the salary cap every single year for the rest of his career, whenever he suits up, so be it.
Yes.
I would absolutely be fine signing that deal.
And that's the difference right there. When you think of other top-tier quarterbacks, there's not a quarterback in the league where anyone is willing to put a lifetime contract on that player. But then you get a guy like Patrick Mahomes who comes into the league and epitomizes the quarterback position forever. I mean, just raises the standard to something that nobody's ever seen. Yes. Pay the man. Pay him. Pay him at the astronomical number. Ask other players to take pay cuts. The kid deserves it. And for that to be even in consideration of a lifetime contract, that should speak in itself. The MVP last season isn't even... There's no consideration of him getting a lifetime contract. No other player, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, some of the greats, some of the guys who have won multiple Super Bowls, who are legends, have never even been considered to have a lifetime contract. And for the Chiefs for Patrick Mahomes to have, his name in this conversation is something to be told. And I think anyone across the league right now understands the significance of that man suiting up and playing every game for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's no secret. Nobody wants to play Kansas City. They're never out of a game. There's never a scenario that Patrick Mahomes cannot get out of, no matter how much time is left on the clock, no matter what the deficit. Patrick Mahomes is going to give you a chance to win. And more than likely, he's going to pull it out because he just has that spark. He has the extra gear, the mentality, that the drive to succeed and win and make everyone else around him better. And it's great because he only has to do it with his actions. And then he's a leader on top of that, in the locker room, in the community, a Christian. He's well-rounded, a great family. I mean, this kid realistically is the best thing that's ever happened to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I really can't argue with you there, because you did mention the family aspect. I'm going to bring this up as well. Due to the fact that he was raised in a professional locker room.
Yes.
His father would bring him into the locker room, and he was raised in the pro sports, I'm going to call it family, really, or community, I guess, because it's a very rare thing to be able to experience that, and then to grow up and get into it yourself. It does happen, but very, very rarely.
Yes.
And certainly, I can't think of a time where it's happened for a quarterback. But Patrick Mahomes has seen what a contract with salary cap can do and how it can affect the locker room.
Yes.
He's seen, and I don't know how much he looks up to Tom Brady, but he's seen how Tom Brady handled himself and his contracts in New England.
Right.
And I heard a number, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, and I'm going to round it off a little bit, but Tom Brady's average salary for his 20-plus years in New England was somewhere around $13 to $15 million per year.
Wow.
That was his average. And that allowed for the Patriots to be able to surround him with other talent on the offense and defensive side of the ball.
Right.
Now, we know that Patrick Mahomes is good enough that he doesn't have to have top-tier talent around him. He can make good players great. He
Absolutely.
can make average players good.
Yes.
But we need to also be able to pay players on the defensive side of the ball. And I feel that Patrick Mahomes is going to be aware enough of all of this to give the Chiefs a quote-unquote team-friendly deal. He could set the market, but it might not be as astronomical as everybody else is thinking. And let's say that he takes a $40 million a year contract, and then Dak wants to have a 42. Deshaun Watson wants to have a 43. Let those teams go and destroy their teams because they struggle to bring in top talent through the draft.
And and
they get lucky here and there, but we have a GM who can draft talent.
Absolutely. And and while you're touching on Brett-Veach, I have to say this is if anyone in the NFL is going to craft a contract and make it manageable for the team, the player, for everyone involved, and have it so intricate that, here's the thing, Chiefs Kingdom. There's hidden money within contracts. And if it's utilized the right way, bonuses and such, it can work out in the team's favor where it's not hitting the salary cap. If there is a way for Brett-Veach to maneuver that entire scenario and pay Patrick Mahomes the money that he wants to make, but then find a loophole to make this all team friendly and work for the team, I would bet my bottom dollar that that's exactly what's going to happen. And the thing about it is I feel like that this contract is going to be so much different than any other contract we've ever seen before, that it's going to leave other GMs and owners in awe, saying, okay, Brett-Veach just set the model. He set the model on how you craft your team around a Michael Jordan-esque player and still keep the talent around him to keep the championships coming. And that's still something that is, yet to be told. But I just have this feeling that we, in Chiefs Kingdom and all across the NFL are going to see something within this contract that's never been done before. And I think it's going to be outside a percentage basis as well.
Yeah, and the other thing to also take into consideration is very, very rarely do we ever see a quarterback coming off of their rookie contract in which they have such astronomical numbers in endorsements coming in as well.
Right, and that's a huge deal, and I think that shows... Okay, let's talk about Michael Jordan for a second. That's a perfect example. Michael Jordan made so much in endorsements that the contract within the Bulls organization wasn't necessarily his priority. I mean, it was, of course, there was huge money there, but Michael Jordan was making so much money elsewhere that contract was probably less than what he had signed with in endorsements. And I look for that to be the same with Patrick Mahomes, and you really, Chris, have found a pulse there on the hidden money outside of the NFL that can really manipulate the contract within the NFL solely on the purposes that there's so much money to go around, he's not really missing out.
Yeah, and you look at all of the deals that he already has, all the endorsements that he already has. And it's definitely working in his and our favor that he's making all of that money.
Absolutely.
Because you also take a look at his character. He's extremely grounded. He's not out there partying it up, going all crazy.
Right.
As we've seen and or heard other players do when they find the money. This guy is going about him carrying himself the right way with his money. And as far as I know, granted, like, I'm not with him, I don't know him personally, but based on what I see and what I hear, he's going about things the right way. And so what's going to be the difference of $5 million, $10 million? He can make that in endorsements easily.
Correct.
And I believe he already has put in the amount of years that he needs to collect retirement from the NFL. So what more is there that he needs? He's taken care of. He's golden. And now it's just a matter of just finding proper compensation for what he does from the team, but also a matter of how much can I take while you guys can still provide me with a quality team so that we can be competitive every single year. You look at guys like Joe Flacco in Baltimore, where after he wins the Super Bowl, he goes and asks for at the time, an astronomical amount of money in his contract. And Baltimore pays him because of how difficult it is to find a franchise quarterback. But in doing so, they had to get rid of their star wide receiver, his best target,
right,
in order to pay him.
Right.
And then they struggled the rest of his time in Baltimore to find him somebody else who could catch the ball.
But I think, and look, Chris, and I'm going to say this is Chiefs Kingdom, I think that in a scenario like that the organization felt bound by the terms of this salary cap and the only options that they thought that they had. And I think that's the genius of Brett-Veach is he is going to stretch every single possible scenario, no matter what it is, no matter how crazy it sounds. He's going to throw that to his people and try to exercise the scenario solely, for the benefit of not only Patrick Mahomes but the team. And I think that's a huge underlying aspect to the Chiefs that realistically is making this machine, work on its own gears. It's just an intricate work of art, if you will.
I'm going to kind of run with that scenario that you just presented of what's really making the Chiefs run. And what I'm hearing through this discussion is from every single aspect, whether it be Andy-Reid, Brett-Veach, Patrick Mahomes, his agent, and Clark Hunt, it's about presenting a quality team.
Yes.
And not just paying one player just to fill seats.
Yes.
It's about taking care of the team.
Yes.
And that's something that we don't really hear a whole lot of with most franchises. And that's something that, as a Chiefs fan, I'm really proud of being a part of. For many different reasons, I'm so proud to be a Chiefs fan throughout the years, and even more so recently through what this country is going through and how the Chiefs have bonded together and taken care of each other throughout this.
Absolutely.
I'm just so proud.
And I'm with you on that one. And I also want to give a ton of respect to Alex Smith, because I will say this. Alex Smith was a foundation that created Patrick Mahomes, because Alex Smith put the Kansas City Chiefs in a scenario where they were not in desperation mode to find a quarterback, where Andy-Reid and Brett-Veach could sit back and intricately pick out the piece to the puzzle that they wanted and they knew for sure would take the Chiefs to the next level. But that couldn't have happened if it wasn't for Alex Smith, because he took the stress off the organization and built a winning culture here in Kansas City, and gave Andy Reid and Brett-Veach the opportunity to search for the next piece instead of trying to, help or build the piece that was there, at that time. And then, on top of that, the leadership that Alex Smith showed towards Patrick Mahomes and the selflessness to build, this machine. And obviously, from day one, Alex Smith knew that Patrick Mahomes was special, and he didn't.
Yeah. And,
go ahead.
Okay, sorry. For him to teach his predecessor, as well as he did, it shows how much he loved Kansas City,
right?
How much he loved Andy Reid, the franchise, because you see this happen all the time in the NFL, and most of the time the starting quarterback, whose job is on the line, and doesn't want to give it up, and so they don't go and help coach up the new guy, and so that speaks a lot for Alex Smith's character as well.
Absolutely.
And for I don't know, I have so much love and appreciation for Alex Smith and what he did for us, for what he did for Patrick Mahomes. I don't think, and I was really critical of him when he came to Kansas City. I will admit that. Even throughout the years, I was critical of him as well. But due to what he has done for us, I will never say another bad word about Alex Smith.
And that's one of those things that sometimes it takes a few seasons or transition within the organization to understand the magnitude that a certain player had on that team, and to really grow a respect for that player, solely on what, not just his accomplishments, but what he set up for the future of the team. And yes, I'm with you, Chris. I don't really want to say I ever knocked Alex. Was I critical of him? Of course, because of the big games, not taking shots downfield, and ultimately, as Stephen A. Smith likes to say, he calls him a pedestrian. Somebody who's a game manager but doesn't like to go out and try to win the game. He'd rather try to not lose the game. And that's the difference between a Patrick Mahomes and an Alex Smith. Is Alex Smith a franchise quarterback? Absolutely. I will never take that away from that man. But when you have a bad man like Patrick Mahomes come in the league, you already know what time it is. And are you going to be that guy? Or are you going to be the guy who is remembered for helping the transition in the organization to send them, in the direction of a Super Bowl? And Alex Smith, took that job and ran with it, and it shows with Patrick. Hands down, I think Alex Smith has, just as much to do with the success of Patrick Mahomes in the NFL as Andy Reid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both of them were huge contributors to the development of Patrick Mahomes. And I think everyone across the league saw what Andy Reid did, the environment that he created here in Kansas City for his new quarterback of the future.
Right.
And a lot of them are trying to emulate that within their own franchises now. They just don't have the quarterback guru. They don't have the system set up for those quarterbacks to be successful.
Yes, it was the perfect storm brewing in Kansas City for Patrick Mahomes to show up at that very time. This is something that doesn't happen very often in the NFL, and Chiefs Kingdom, we should feel extremely fortunate that we, it fell into our hands. Instead of another team. This is a time where the Kansas City Chiefs could very well go on a dynasty run. It's looking like that. It doesn't look like the Chiefs are slowing down anytime soon. And now it's time to sign the ultimate piece to that puzzle. And it's well earned. After 2 years, for a quarterback in the NFL to be talking about the biggest contract ever, I mean, you really have to shine. And what has Patrick Mahomes done? I mean, he shined. If it wasn't for Kansas City's defense, I firmly believe Kansas City would be back-to-back Super Bowl champions at this point. Now, will that happen this coming up season? I'm a very firm believer that the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. And Chris, I really want to touch base on this while we're at it. Last season, I mean, you and I had really, really dug in and done our homework and studied our depth chart and all the new players, and we were dead set that the Chiefs, were going to win the Super Bowl. And that's exactly what happened. And that feeling is only growing stronger for this upcoming season because the core is back. That offense is elite, electric, and nobody's gone. And I look at the defense who has stepped up and will continue to climb the ranks as far as a dominant defense in the league. And this season is looking extremely promising for back-to-back Super Bowl victories.
Yeah, if you exclude the additions that we had on defense in this offseason, the defense, the way that they played the second half of the season after that loss to Tennessee, we were playing as a top 3, top 5 defense consistently. And
yes.
That's with the two players that we let go. You add in the fact that we brought in a top-tier linebacker, as athletic to the nth degree, which is what we've been clamoring for since Derek Johnson left. We are going to be extremely good this upcoming year. Our defense could potentially be a consistent top 3 defense this upcoming year. Even though that we're playing in more top talent, the NFC South with the Falcons, the Saints, Tampa Bay, and Carolina, we are going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. Just because of the talent that we have in general, but then the fact that we have so much returning talent on top of that, in these times, other teams, those players have to get acclimated. We're good to go.
Yes.
We really only have one guy that's going to probably step in and be a starter day one in William Gay Jr.
And and I want to say this real quick. We had touched base on how, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, and it's not even close. I'm going to say this right now. The Kansas City Chiefs have the best depth chart in the league, and it's not even close. Our draft capabilities, our scouting capabilities, trade, everything that is going on within this organization is top tier, and the league hasn't seen anything like it before. Every other team in the NFL is playing keep up or catch up, however you want to say it, with the Kansas City Chiefs. And the great thing about it is when these teams are trying to play catch up with the Chiefs, number one, they have to lay a foundation. Okay, that's something the Chiefs have had for years. Okay, and it took years for that foundation to blossom into, the players that we have now, because, it takes time, it takes organization, it takes studying and being intricate on, what, positions you need, what is going to be right in the draft this year. What can we get out of trade? Where is the salary cap? There's so many things that go into this, and for the Chiefs to watch the Chiefs roll through this with a fine-tooth comb and come out smelling like a rose is one of the most amazing things that I've seen in the NFL in my entire life. And I just have not seen an organization have it together like this and on a roll, and year after year pulling amazing talent out of the draft, not scared to pull a player like Clyde Allaire out of the draft, and going against the grain and taking a running back in the 32nd pick and the first round. The Chiefs are doing what they want to. And that's what I love to see, is because they have this goal and they have this vision, and they're doing everything it takes, no matter what, no matter which way they have to work it, to make it happen. And it's a beautiful scenario, and it's fun to watch because you're not seeing any other franchises move in this direction or even close. Because let's be honest, the Chiefs are in fast track, and when I say that, I mean that they are pulling in pieces every chance they get, every draft, every trade, everything is such an integral move and such a calculated move that it has just fallen into place perfectly, and it's not going to change. It has now turned into a process that's not building anymore. The Chiefs built what they have. It's there. That product is there. Now it's time to keep that product where it's at. And that solely falls within the draft and Brett-Veach and all the scouts. And they are doing an incredible job of keeping high-end talent at a low-end value and keeping, and building, I'm going to say keeping, but building a core and structuring this monster that is just completely unstoppable. It is absolutely something special.
You're tickling with the idea, and I'm just going to go ahead and full on put it out there. Clark Hunt does not get the credit that he deserves for having put this team together.
Not at all.
Because way back when, and he made the commitment to Andy-Reid to bring him in and to give him time to set up his system, to get his guys in place and allow him the freedom to do what he needed to do.
Yep.
And then they make the move to switch GMs and move up Brett-Veach. And Brett-Veach, promoting him to GM was like drafting Patrick Mahomes in the first round all over again.
Absolutely.
I sincerely feel like we have two Patrick Mahomes working within this franchise right now.
Yes, and and look, I'm not going to take away from what you want to say here, but I do want to say this to Chiefs Kingdom. If some of you out there do not know this, Brett-Veach was a scout, an NFL scout, before he was a GM. What more genius way to represent a team top to bottom to make the personnel moves than a scout who has studied NFL players for years and years and years? That was a genius move. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, and to continue with that, the relationship that Brett-Veach and Andy-Reid have, those guys go back to 2003, I believe, if I remember my research right.
17 years.
And Brett-Veach and Andy-Reid know each other, and Veach knows what Andy-Reid looks for in a football player.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the chemistry there, too. The chemistry doesn't just stop in the locker room. The chemistry is there all the way across the board. When Clark Hunt gave Big Red the keys to the Ferrari, it was over with. Clark Hunt understood, okay, I am the owner of a NFL franchise, and I don't know the first thing about building an NFL team. So what am I to do if this franchise is handed down to me? I give the control to a man who has proven himself for 30 years, in the NFL, and let him take this and mold everything he wants to. And that's exactly, what Andy-Reid and Clark Hunt did. And it's amazing. And here's the thing is, I don't fully believe that Andy-Reid had that control in Philadelphia. And when he came over to Kansas City, he was like, look, you see what I did in Philadelphia, and I was restricted. Give me the reins to do and make whatever decisions I want to. Let me bring the personnel I want in, and let's craft a machine that cannot be stopped. And the product has obviously been shown on the field. And how can you knock our front office and that chemistry that they have?
Yeah, it has created the perfect storm, the juggernaut of the NFL. This machine cannot and will not be stopped.
Right.
unless we were to do it from within. And Patrick Mahomes taking a $50-60 million a year contract would do that. Patrick Mahomes is too smart for that.
Right.
He's not going to tear apart this team and be that selfish. He's putting the team first. And it's beautiful to see in this day and age where so many players are all about the me culture.
Yes, and let me touch base on that real quick because that's a really, really great point, Chris. When you look at the integrity of a player like Patrick Mahomes, and that player is willing to take a pay cut, to keep the core around him, to keep the talent around him, and then you look at the type of player he is off the field, and you put that whole package together, there will be more money coming Patrick Mahomes' way than a player who is selfish and is money, me, right now, all salary cap, I need this, I'm worth this, it's all about me type of persona. Patrick Mahomes is an all-American kid. There is businesses lined up to give Patrick Mahomes money. The money is not the issue. And I think that that's what I really enjoy about Patrick Mahomes is he has such a pulse on, hey, I'm going to be making money in 40 different scenarios. I'm going to be asleep at night while money is being raked into my bank account. This contract with the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, is important, but while I make a team-friendly deal and I keep my integrity and the whole world views me as this wholesome, humbled kid, that money is far going to be made up with endorsements and sponsorships. I don't think that I feel like he's going to make even more money by being humble and staying in the lane that he's in right now and just letting everything take care of itself.
I absolutely agree. There's no way I can argue with that.
So realistically, and you said you hit the nail on the head. He grew up in a professional atmosphere from the time he was a toddler. He's running around with A-Rod. You have players like that. This kid has seen it all. He's seen the contracts. He's seen the ups and downs of a locker room. He's seen, the huge successes, failures. This kid has seen it all, and I know the legacy is more important to Patrick Mahomes than the money at this point. Do I agree with that? Absolutely. Do I ever think that Patrick Mahomes would be more about money than winning? I don't think so. There's something about that kid. It's bred in him. He's a winner. Okay, he's a winner first, and then everything else follows. The competitive nature drives Patrick Mahomes to another level that far exceeds money. It's not about the money. It's about winning to him. He just wants to win. He wants to win. He wants the pieces around him. And it's going to take this intricate contract that the Chiefs are going to come up with to make all this happen. And Chris, we really wanted to talk about this tonight. We're getting into 50 minutes deep here in the show about talking about a Patrick Mahomes contract. And, everything that we have said is valid. I can't take away from, any perspective that you and I have had. I just think this is just a waiting game. With the coronavirus and social distancing, all the regulations, everything that has been handed down by the government at this moment, that really pays off, like I said, for Patrick Mahomes as an agent to sit on their hands right now and just ride this out. And don't leave any money on the table from your rookie deal. Don't be ignorant. You got a year to make this happen, and it will happen. But it sure is exciting to talk about the possibilities and the prospects of how it's all going to fall out and break down, and the possibility of having a contract you've never seen in the NFL. That's exciting. And if any team is going to pull this off, if any GM is going to pull this off, it is going to be Kansas City and Brett-Veach. This is an exciting time to be a Chiefs fan. All of us just want this deal to get done. It's going to happen. You just have to stay patient, Kansas City. We got to stay patient, look forward to this upcoming season, because I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, Kansas City, but I'm still riding this wave of the Super Bowl. It's tough to fall off of this high, especially when you know you have a team that has been brought back to repeat and possibly three-peat. This is a fun time, Kansas City. Let's roll this out, and let's enjoy what's ahead of us. There's a reason why God put your eyes in the front of your head and not in the back. Look, you got to keep looking forward, and I cannot wait for this season to start. Chris, is there anything else you would like to add to this podcast tonight? Because we have really covered every basis of this Patrick Mahomes contract. We have talked about how it could, affect the organization, the community, just everything. Can you think of anything else you'd like to add this evening?
Just because you kind of brought it up with the repeat and three-peat, I just want to throw this out there. Run it back!
Run it back, absolutely. Look, we've got the team to do it. The depth chart is locked in. There's new pieces that Chiefs Kingdom haven't even seen yet that is going to make a huge impact on multiple facets of the depth chart. And it's time to get excited. Once again, I say that word a lot, excitement. That's something that you should have a lot in your life. And the Chiefs have brought that, to every single fan base, every single fan in the NFL. Realistically, if you do not have fun watching the Kansas City Chiefs, you must be a fan of Denver, Las Vegas, or the Chargers. And so this is just one of those things where this doesn't come along very often, Kansas City. Ride it out. Enjoy it. Don't stress about it, because I'll tell you this. If anyone is going to make this contract happen and make it work for the Kansas City Chiefs, it absolutely will be Clark Hunt, Brett-Veach, and Andy-Reid. So rest assured, Kansas City, you can go to sleep tonight knowing for a fact, absolutely, that Patrick Mahomes will be in a Chiefs jersey forever, and there will always be a possibility of a Super Bowl contention as long as he is under center. Kansas City, look, happy to have you. This is KC Kingdom Radio. I am your host, Richard Smith. Along with me, my senior NFL analyst and co-host, Kris-Chavez. Look, Kansas City, we appreciate your time. Let's get through this coronavirus thing, and let's get this NFL season kicked off, because we've got another Super Bowl to win. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Go check us out at kckingdomradio.com or the KC Kingdom Radio Facebook page, and follow us, like us, whatever you have to do, subscribe, please. Just tune in and enjoy more amazing Chiefs content. So, Kansas City, have a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in. This is KC Kingdom Radio. We're out.
Thank you for tuning in to Kingdom Radio, your go-to podcast for everything Kansas City Chiefs.